Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 777. I had the white pieces and started off with c4, the English opening. My opponent went g6. You can see that's not the most popular move here, but there's a wide, it's one of the popular moves, and there's a wide range of choices that black has. C4 is just not a very forcing move, so black has a range of setups that he can choose from. And my opponent goes for a King's Indian type of setup, although he did delay the e5 move for quite a while, but eventually he got it in. Anyway, I went g3 here. He went bishop g7. So consistent with this plan. Knight c3. And there's nothing wrong with this opening. It is kind of a quiet opening for black, but it's a counterattacking opening. So later black is going to counterattack the center. And I'm just going for my English setup, and I'm kind of waiting a little bit to see how black is placing his pieces, but now he's completed this kind of initial King's Indian setup. They're still not clear whether black is going to go with e5 or c5. Both of those are options here. And at this point, I choose to go for the Botvinnik setup, and I play the move e4, which is well supported by this knight and this bishop. So the Botvinnik setup, if you're not familiar with it, it looks a little bit strange to be putting this pawn here, blocking in the bishop. But the idea is that you get pawn breaks on either side. You can break on the king side with f4, or you can break on the queen side with b4, often, depending on how black plays. So he castles here, and I go knight to e2 as part of the Botvinnik setup, keeping this diagonal clear for the bishop, so that e4 point is strong. And now he plays a rare move, bishop g5. You see the top two choices are black should finally decide at this point to either play c5 or e5. Choose that setup and get there. Bishop g4 seems to be a bit of a time-wasting move. And we're just out of the opening book. Now I have to say the chess engine prefers d4 here. It says, well, black didn't play c5 or e5, c5 or e5, and so it's time to play d4 and just stake out that claim to the center. And it thinks I should play d4 for the next 5 moves or so. Eventually, on move 11, I play d3 and complete my setup, and it says okay, and stops telling me I should play d4. But just for the sake of correctness here, probably d4 is the best move, and it gives a pretty big edge to white there. I just kick the bishop. Like I said, I'm going for the Botvinnik setup, and that d4 is not a part of that. And he retreated. He could have taken the knight too. That was given as actually the top choice by the engine rather than wasting a move like this. Let's see, I castle. He goes queen c8, lining up on my h-pawn. I go king h2. And he goes knight to c6. So he's blocked off the c-pawn. So now it's clear that his only central move here with the pawns is to play e5. Well, I can't say that's the only idea. He could also consider playing e6 and d5, but that might be difficult to arrange. A little slow too. Anyway, I played a3 here. Once again, the chess engine is telling me I should play d4, and now he goes e5. So he's chosen that setup, and I go d3 to complete my Botvinnik setup. So this is the Botvinnik setup with this little pawn triangle here on the light squares. This bishop fianchettoed, the two knights like this, out of the way of the bishop, and then this bishop can develop alongside that diagonal. And white has actually a pretty flexible setup, and where white can choose to expand on the king side or on the queen side, depending on how black plays. Anyway, black continued with knight d4, went bishop to e3, getting the bishop off the back rank and maybe preparing to trade off this bishop. It's debatable whether I want to trade that off, and I think I decided not to in this game because it's also looking at a solid pawn here, not particularly active. So I think I got more mileage out of trying to pin this knight. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. He plays c5, so he's got a symmetrical setup, and I go with b4 now, just trying to create a little tension here, maybe undermine that knight a little bit. I can trade that knight off at any point, but I'm not interested in doing it until I can get some kind of advantage out of it. Let's see, he played b6, just shoring up the center there. I played rook b1, so that if I take here, maybe opening up the b file will be useful to me. And he played knight e8, kind of a passive move here. But, well, I played a move here that's actually a mistake. I went queen d2. So there is a tactic in this position that black has. And so if you want to check this out, why don't you see if you can figure out what the tactic is. Okay, black to move. I'm going to give the answer away now, so if you want more time to think about it, pause the video here. Black to move, and black should play. Bishop takes h3. Yeah, the problem is, well, I can't take with my king because it's covered by the queen. And if I take with my bishop, the bishop is a little bit overworked. It was also defending the f3 square. So let's see. So I probably shouldn't take. I should probably just play on a pawn down. I think the chess engine gives knight d4 as the best move. It is possible to take, but I think black ends up the exchange up. I mean, well, keep in mind my bishop is attacking his queen, but he gets this check in, and then he takes my queen, and I take his queen, and then he takes my rook. So I think that's why he comes out the exchange up. So anyway, that is an advantage to black to play that way. And if I just play knight d5, it actually gives only a very slight advantage to black. But that was black's chance to get an advantage. Instead, he played bishop h8, so he was still, I guess, worried about me coming in and trading off his bishop here, which I hadn't actually decided to do at this point, but I was thinking about it. Sometimes that is useful to get rid of that bishop, even though the center is clogged up at the moment. You're going to be, my plan is to push these pawns forward and open up that center, so I might still have tried to get rid of that bishop. Let's see, so he retreated his bishop, so I just went ahead with f4 immediately. He took, and I took back with the pawn. Sometimes you want to take with the pawn. It keeps control of this square, and it also introduces the idea of f5, trying to remove some of the pawn cover around black's king. But he doesn't have a knight ready to hop into the e5 square. And yeah, the chess engine thinks taking with a piece here is better, either the bishop or the knight. So, you know, knight takes f4. Keep the pawn cover around the king, and this is an active piece that can come in here, supporting the other knight. The bishop can then come here and put pressure on d6. So that's a little more accurate way to play. I went with g4. He went with f5. Let's see, yeah, the chess engine doesn't like f5. It thinks knight c7, and black has kind of a normal, you know, white has some opening advantage, but black has a playable position. f5 seems to be a little bit premature. His pieces, you know, he's been moving his pieces back to the back rank, so I think maybe that's the problem here. It lets me open things up. Anyway, I chose to jump into d5 at this point, and I think after f5 it gives white some kind of advantage. So yeah, after bishop h8, yeah, there's an advantage to white, and yeah, and after f5, I didn't play the most accurate move here when I took with the pawn instead of the piece, but after f5, the advantage comes back. So still have that edge at this point. So he goes rook f7. I decide to trade off his knight at this point because I saw that I could get these doubled isolated pawns, and I figured they would be targets the rest of the game. So that's seemed like a good point at which to trade off that knight. So, but my bishop was under attack. I dropped it off, and he played bishop to c6, preparing to trade off my knight if necessary. So I went queen b2 here, piling up on the pawn, and that keeps an advantage. But actually, the best move here, according to the engine, is to go ahead and open things up immediately, and it's a very logical play, actually. It's not, it's not like there's an immediate tactic, but the problem is just that he's got this knight on the back rank. His rook is not yet in the game. His queen is kind of a little bit out of play, and you can open up lines in the center and looking towards his king. So if you take on f5. And well, it gives actually knight f6 is the best move here, which is a little bit strange because that just gives up a pawn immediately. So if knight f6 is the best move, you've clearly got some kind of advantage because you just won a pawn. But what happens if queen takes? And this is, I guess, well, this is what computers are good at. They can look ahead quite deeply. If you can't if you can't decide just intuitively that that's the right thing to do to open up, then you have to calculate. And it came up with this line, bishop h4. So this is nice. It's looking at the e7 square. So it's threatening knight e7, forking the king and queen, and just winning the exchange. So say the queen drops back here to d7. Then the rook comes the e file. That's also why the queen didn't go to e6 there. It went all the way back to d7. You know, it wants to stay away from the forks, but also wants to stay away from that pressure on the e file. And now, say white tries to, black tries to free his position with knight to f6. Then now there is a winning tactic, knight e7 check, rook takes, and bishop takes c6. And the queen is overloaded. The queen was defending the bishop and the queen was defending the rook. So if you take the bishop, you lose the rook. So anyway, that's at that point, there's just, after rook b1, it seems like there's no move that black can play that will avoid some kind of material loss. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I didn't look at other lines, but knight f6 was actually given as the best move there. So anyway, I guess the point is, every piece that white has is participating. This knight can move with discoveries against the bishop there, which is at the moment defended by the queen, but the queen also has duties on this side of the board as well. And so just the combination of pieces and open lines is, and the fact that black's pieces are a little bit out of play or awkwardly placed, means that there is a winning attack there. But, well, in fairness to me, it's a blitz game, and also I saw that I'm just simply winning this pawn, so why not just go for that? So queen b2 is an okay move too. Let's see, he played bishop takes d5, and here I took with the wrong pawn. So if I take with the e pawn, that's how I should take, then I am just winning a pawn here. Let's see, queen d8, bishop takes, queen takes, and I'm just simply a pawn up. The way I took, I was using sort of generalized thinking. I wanted to take with the c pawn so that I have pawns in the center here, but it actually allows him to open up lines against my weak pawns, and he gets the pawn back basically. So after this, after c takes d5, which seemed logical at the time, but again, it wasn't accounting for all the details. I have too many weaknesses over here, and he can just equalize, which he does. He takes, and so the position has gone from +1 advantage to white to even again. He grabs the f pawn. I still get the d pawn. Bishop takes, queen takes, and yeah, the material is even. He trades rooks. That's okay, and he would be fine. He just needs to play a move like queen to c7. Hold on to things, because there is this open f file next to the king, and actually I can generate threats there very quickly, which you can you'll see if you look at the game being played live. Those threats come very quickly, so he needs to be aware of that, and the fact that his knight is still a bit awkwardly placed. He needs some time to get that knight into the game. But queen c7 holds everything together, and the position is just even here. Instead, he went queen a6, a nice active move, taking a look at this pawn, which is undefended, and taking a look at the rook, which is defended. So the only real threat is queen takes pawn. And, well, I just have much bigger threats here, and I actually found the best move. It was nice. This is the one move that ends the game, basically. There are other moves that could be played that give white an edge, but this is a move that can't be dealt with. There is no defense to this simple plan of just checkmating on the f file. Let's see. The chess engine gives the best move is queen takes f1. So, well, that is a way to deal with the mate threats. There's no more mate threats after that, at least not immediately. But well, he'll be down a queen for a rook. So clearly that's winning. Knight to c7. Trying to free up the rook so that the f8 square is guarded. I can come into f7, and if nothing better, I can grab the knight there and be a piece up. And let's see, if he goes to g7, then this leads to a mate. Queen here check, king goes to the corner, and then queen to f8 followed by rook to f8 is mate. So yeah, other lines just lead to mate. He played h5, which also leads to mate, as we saw in the game. That allows me to come all the way into f8 and then bring the rook in. There's no escape for the king, so knight g7 is the only move. And there's the checkmate. So a nice finish to the game. It's kind of funny that all the way up to this point, even though I'd had an edge most of the game, I took with the wrong pawn in the center, and he's actually equal, but he had to be thinking a little more defensively at this point. And so this queen a6 move is the move that gave the game away. Anyway, interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon.